Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And this is our all-English unit for this edition of our magazine. And it's our news unit as well. We've got a couple of stories we're going to talk about. You may have heard all the hubbub about ChatGPT. Everybody seems to be talking about that these days.
Sure.
And how many people are going to lose their jobs because of this.
Or how fun it is.
Yes, indeed. I suppose we should take the positive approach to this and not be so threatened by it. It might actually be beneficial. And also, we're talking about algae, which is kind of stuff that grows in the water. And if you've got too much of it, it can cause problems for the ocean ecosystem.
Tom mentioned a word that I would really like to talk more about. So before I forget, hubbub is kind of a noise that's made when a lot of people are talking about the same topic. Similar words would be brouhaha. You'll hear that, or a ruckus about something, or an uproar about something. So it's a lot of people talking about something that's happening. Usually it's very topical. Maybe it's in the news. And there has been a lot of hubbub around this, not just what it can do, but also some of the issues too. So we're going to get into the good and the bad, or the pros and the cons of this particular application.
Okay, so let's dive right in, everybody. Let's read the entire contents of our lesson now one time.
ChatGPT takes the world by storm. ChatGPT is an AI application that can generate human-like answers to questions and text prompts. ChatGPT bases its answers on a vast range of data. This large language model means the AI can understand human language and provide everything from answers to simple questions to essays in the style of a particular author. Furthermore, it's capable of learning from a user's prompts in order to add more context to its replies. ChatGPT's creator, OpenAI, has made it free, resulting in it quickly gaining over 100 million regular users. However, ChatGPT is not without issues. Owing to its popularity, users often must wait when it reaches its capacity. It's also been shown to have accuracy problems and suffers from various glitches. One final thing that has many academics concerned is its potential use for cheating. While there are tools that can assess whether any given passage is likely AI-generated, ChatGPT learns so quickly that these tools may become obsolete. Still, many are eager to explore this latest development in AI technology.
Scientists make products from toxic sea algae. Many of the world's seas and oceans are afflicted by various forms of toxic algae. These affect the marine life in the area and cause whole regions to turn green. Fortunately, scientists are now making something useful from the mess. One company, Origin by Ocean, OBO, was started by Dr. Mari Granström, a scientist from Finland. She enjoyed scuba diving in the Baltic Sea, but noticed increasing amounts of blue-green algae in the water. They were affecting the oxygen levels, blocking the sunlight, and reducing the water quality. Deciding it was time that someone did something, she started harvesting the algae and making things out of them, including ingredients for cosmetics and food. Since then, she has founded OBO, which now manufactures more such products and even a plastic substitute. OBO also imports seaweed from the Dominican Republic, where it stops people from fishing and affects tourism. Dr. Granström hopes to attract more investors and customers who want to clean up the oceans and use her environmentally friendly products. Okay, it's time for us now to discuss the contents of our lesson for today. Again, it's our all-English unit. We've given the Chinese teacher the day off.
Ooh, nice.
So the Chinese teacher can go off and study Japanese or something like that. And the first story we're talking about is ChatGPT. It has taken the world by storm. If something takes the world by storm, that means it has become very, very popular, and it's popular all over the place. And again, it's a new program, a new interface on the internet, and you can use this to help you write your college papers. I'm not sure if I should mention that because some professors out there may be angry that I'm actually trying to encourage that or something like that.
No, that's cheating, guys. Don't use it.
Yeah, you're supposed to write your own papers, but some people probably think they can, use this to at least help them write their paper. And I guess some professors might use ChatGPT to grade those papers.
Ooh, I don't know. What's an application? An application is just the longer form of the word app. Or as you guys all like to say here in Taiwan, APP. Try not to spell application or app when you're talking to foreigners and speaking English because they'll think it's strange. Why are they spelling that word out loud to me? I still think it's really cute. So try to say app. It's very fast, and all of you guys can do it. It's not a hard word. AI app. AI application, and it can generate or produce human-like answers to questions and text prompts. A prompt is just when you put in some sort of question and you want it to think about something and then give you back the results. That would be a prompt.
Right, it's kind of like a cue, basically. Yeah. You enter some information and you ask the program to do something for you. So you give it this information, this suggestion, and then it comes back with some kind of text, some kind of answer to your question.
Sometimes it's a graphic. There's somebody I follow on Twitter that uses ChatGPT to produce these beautiful pieces of art that are just AI generated.
That's another topic, AI. Art, they've had lots of controversies regarding artworks created by artificial intelligence. Do they belong in art competitions, or should we just leave it with regular people? But that's another question, as I said. And ChatGPT bases its answers on a vast range of data, or data. You can say it both ways. And yes, indeed, it will give you answers, but it has access to all sorts of information. It has access to a very big database, and it can put things together. It can assemble them all together and give you the answer to your question, or maybe write your final paper for you.
I saw an interview with Elon Musk a couple of months ago. He was on a talk show in America, and he was concerned. He's the one who actually started OpenAI. That's his company. And then it was taken over by people who are working on the program. And he's not happy with how ChatGPT has turned out because most of the data that's being input is only by one group of people who have a particular viewpoint. And he's afraid that it's not accurate. And we're getting a lot of kids and young adults who are learning things that are really just incorrect and wrong. So the value of ChatGPT is only going to be as high as the data that's input. We need facts that are input instead of all opinions.
Exactly. So it should be democratic with lots of viewpoints added to it, etc., etc. And we're calling this a large language model. I guess that's how they're labeling this particular program. A model that uses lots of language or different databases of information based on language. And this means that AI can understand human language and provide everything from answers to simple questions to essays in the style of a particular author. So indeed, I suppose if you want to write a short story and you want to sound like you're Charles Dickens or something like that, then you just click the boxes or something and enter the information and voila, you'll have a story that people can't tell the difference. They'll be able to read the story and they'll think, this looks like a story by Charles Dickens. I'm convinced it is completely believable.
It's kind of crazy that it could actually have somebody's style. Another account I follow online actually tries different things, inputting different prompts. And he could see that as he input different pieces of information or requests, that ChatGPT actually got smarter and was able to return more of what he was looking for. So it actually learns as you're using it, which is kind of freaky, but kind of scary, kind of freaky, but that's where technology is going. It says here, furthermore, it's capable of learning, and that's what I was just addressing, from the user's prompts. What you're inputting inputting or your request that you're inputting into the program, it actually learns as it goes along. It can add more context to its replies. Maybe his first, I see ChatGPT as a man. I don't know why. So maybe the first time ChatGPT responds with something, it's not close enough to what you were looking for, or maybe it's missing some details. So if you put more things into it, each time the product is given back to you, it becomes closer and closer to what you're looking for. It's really kind of cool.
Interesting, and the next sentence here says, ChatGPT's creator OpenAI has made it free, resulting in it quickly gaining over 100 million regular users. I'm not one of them. I haven't really checked this out too much, but this company OpenAI has made this a free program, and so anybody can use it if they want to.
They can. I got onto it briefly one night, and it depends on how many people are using it at the time. Sometimes too many people are on at the same time, so it can slow it down a little bit. Depends on how long you're willing to wait for it to respond as well. So those are just some issues. Right now we know that it has over 100 million regular users. If you're a regular user, you use something quite often. It's not something that you do once and then decide, forget it. It's something that you go to again and again.
Indeed. So it does have some issues. It does have some concerns. And yes, indeed, users often must wait when it reaches its capacity and might take a little while to get what you want. It's also been shown to have accuracy problems and suffers from various glitches. Accuracy is how correct something is. So it has problems with accuracy. It may give you some kind of essay and it actually contains incorrect information, so you probably have to double check it. And a glitch, of course, is a problem in the system, like when your computer freezes or when it does something it's not supposed to do, and then you got to figure out exactly how to correct that problem, and it can be quite frustrating. So it's a new program, but I'm sure they'll make improvements as time goes on.
It's interesting because one of our constitutional lawyers in America was complaining about ChatGPT because it gave inaccurate information about him. And his question was interesting. He said, "Who am I going to sue?" We don't know who put in all the information, but whatever data was input was incorrect. And he was asking a really important question. Where do we go if your reputation is destroyed by something ChatGPT comes up with? And a lot of people think everything that a computer returns is all truth and it's all accurate, and that's not the case. So it's got some interesting problems as well. So it's popular and users sometimes have to wait. That was my problem at first. And it's been shown to have accuracy problems. A glitch is another issue that it's had. Usually we use that word glitch if it's some sort of technical bugaboo. Something doesn't work right. Or have you ever gotten online and there's a live streaming program and suddenly the video drops? You can't see the person talking or you can't hear. That's a glitch. And it's usually because of the internet or too many people are on. This particular application has glitches too.
Right, it's a malfunction, and we all have to put up with those things. And one final thing that has many academics concerned is its potential use for cheating. An academic, of course, is somebody who works in education, especially at a university, and they're going to be assigning their students some term papers or final papers, and they're worried or they're concerned that this program, this APP, this application may be used for cheating, and it may be difficult for professors grading papers to know the difference between what a student wrote and what ChatGPT wrote.
Yeah, I was curious if Microsoft had caught up to ChatGPT, because if you use the review function in Microsoft Word, it will tell you whether your writing is too similar to something they found online. And I was thinking, I wonder if it's up to date enough to catch things that ChatGPT put together. So we'll just have to wait and see. But academics, those professors, people who work in education, they are concerned. If you're cheating, you're not learning anything, guys. So what's the point? I know some people think I just want good grades. But if you graduate and you don't have any skills, you won't keep a job long. You'll be fired.
Indeed. And so some academics are concerned that students may be cheating, but that may only just harm yourself. And while there are tools that can assess whether any given passage is likely AI-generated, ChatGPT learns so quickly that these tools may become obsolete. So if you are a professor and you want to make sure that a student's paper was written by the student and not by ChatGPT, you can use some tools to assess whether that particular essay or passage was generated by artificial intelligence. And unfortunately, though, ChatGPT learns quickly. It may figure out ways to fool the professors. To assess here just means to evaluate something and come to some conclusions about that thing. And so the tools will assess whether something is actually artificial or not. But then again, this program learns quickly and it might be able to fool other people, and then these tools will become obsolete. They will no longer be able to be used. And I could give you an example, like if you try to use Windows 3.1, for example, it's not going to work because that's obsolete. It's been gone for decades.
Yeah, so obsolete just means it's no longer produced or used. It's out of date, and it's not going to help you. So it's going to be interesting to see how this unrolls or unfolds. We're going to have to wait and see. Our world is changing very quickly. Right now, we're going to take a quick break. We don't have our Chinese teacher today, but we will be back momentarily.
Okay, let's continue with the next news story in our All English unit for today. We just got done talking about ChatGPT, but now we're going to talk about the environment, the natural environment, and it's all about sea algae. Of course, algae is a kind of plant that grows in the ocean. It's a non-flowering plant, and it's basically some kind of seaweed, and also some forms of algae just have one cell in them. To me, algae is just all this green stuff floating in the water, and it's kind of gross.
Yeah. I grew up near California, and so if I went to a beach or the ocean, it was always California. And they have disgusting seaweed. The water's kind of cold. The beach isn't very sandy. It's more rocky. If you want a good beach in America, you should go to Florida. It's warmer there. But actually, Florida's climate is very similar to Taiwan's. We get a little cooler here in the winter, though. Florida's still hot and humid in the winter as well. But yeah, like Tom said, these are plants, but they don't have stems or leaves, and you see them growing in the water. And if you're swimming in the ocean, sometimes it wraps around your legs, and it's just kind of slimy feeling.
Right, that might be kelp in some cases, but algae, of course, can be harmless and it can be toxic, which means it's poisonous and bad for the environment. And so scientists are trying to figure out something to do with that toxic sea algae. And many of the world's seas and oceans are afflicted by various forms of toxic algae. Here we've got the word afflict, to be afflicted by. That means you're affected in a bad way by something. And the oceans and the seas have this toxic algae, and they are affected by it. It's causing problems. What do they do? Well, these affect the marine life in the area and cause whole regions to turn green. And that's not good. You don't want all this stuff floating in the water. It can affect the marine life. The fish there, the crabs, the octopuses or whatever cannot breathe properly. They might all die off because of all this extra algae. I should mention that algae is the plural form of this word. Alga is singular, although you very rarely hear people use it in the singular form.
I've never heard it used in the singular form my entire life. So, yeah, just say algae. It looks like algae, doesn't it? But it's not. It's algae. Sorry, English is so weird sometimes. But yeah, it can be very toxic, and you don't want to hurt marine life. A lot of us actually use some of that marine life for our food. Maybe you eat crabs, or you eat some of the fish that are being affected by it as well. So it can cause whole regions to turn green. So instead of seeing that beautiful blue color in the sea, it'll look green.
Yes, indeed, and it will look green because there's too much algae in the water. And, well, the next solution is, well, why don't we do something about it? If we can't get rid of the algae, then I guess we better figure out a way to use it. Fortunately, scientists are now making something useful from the mess. It's too messy to clean up, so let's try to make the best of it. And one company, Origin by Ocean, OBO, was started by Dr. Mari Granström, a scientist from Finland. So here we've got this company called Origin by Ocean, or OBO, maybe OBO for short. And we've got this person from Finland. I have never studied Suomi before, so this is her name. I read it Mary, but I suppose it's Mari or something, Granström or something like that. Forgive me if I've butchered that pronunciation, but she is a scientist from Finland, and she's doing something about all this toxic algae.
Right. If you know how to pronounce Finnish words, good for you. They're often very difficult. So if you ever go to Finland, though, don't worry. Their English is excellent. Everyone has to grow up speaking English in school, so you can always communicate if your English is good there. Don't worry about that. But she is a scientist, and it says here she enjoyed scuba diving in the Baltic Sea. Now, if you're scuba diving, it's when you're going into the ocean and you're breathing underwater using equipment. So you'll have a tank of oxygen on your back. You can usually go very deep into the ocean. If you're just, if you don't have oxygen and you're, what do you call that if you're not scuba diving? What's the...
Snorkeling?
Snorkeling, yeah. Then you have to keep that little pipe that goes from your head to above the water. You have to keep it out of the water, or you will swallow ocean water. But here she actually goes under the water pretty deeply. They usually have flippers on their feet to help them just swim around faster. And remember, if you do go very deep, you need to be careful. When you rise to the surface, you have to take some time. Otherwise, you get air bubbles in your blood, and it's a mess. But I think in order to scuba dive, Tom, you actually have to be certified. You have to take a class first.
Oh, yeah. You need to have a license. You need to have some specialized training for it. For snorkeling, you don't need that, but still you should learn how to swim before you do that. And as you know, Finland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, they're all next to the Baltic Sea, and she enjoyed scuba diving in the Baltic Sea, but she noticed increasing amounts of blue-green algae in the water. Okay, so she's an experienced diver. She knows how to recognize these things. And she noticed, there's more algae in the water now than there used to be.
Right. So this is pretty important. A lot of that marine life does need the sun. It goes through the ocean waves, and that helps things in the sea grow too. So if you're blocking the sunlight, that can't be good for our marine life. It also reduces the water quality. Deciding it was time that someone did something, she decided that someone would be her. She decided to harvest the algae and make things out of them, which is so interesting. I never would have thought that you could create cosmetics and even food from algae, which sounds kind of crazy because remember, we told you that algae can be toxic or poisonous.
Yep, so she decided to make the best of a bad situation. She didn't want all that algae there, but she thought, well, if you can't beat it, join it. I guess, can we say it that way? If you can't beat them, join them. I guess you could use that in that situation. But basically, she decided to make things out of the algae there. And she's going to make cosmetics and food, something that you can eat or maybe animals can eat or something like that on farms. And since then, she has founded OBO, or OBO, which now manufactures more such products and even a plastic substitute. To manufacture, of course, just means to create something in a factory. So she brings all this algae into a factory and it's treated in special ways in order to produce products. And she's also produced a plastic substitute. Of course, as you know, there's a lot of plastic in the world's oceans. So there are people out there trying to find alternatives to plastic. This could be a plastic substitute that could be biodegradable, and therefore it would not end up in the tummies of fish all over the world.
Ooh, that's good. I'm getting a little fearful these days when I eat fish. I know fish is supposed to be good for you, but I wonder how much plastic those fish have ingested as they've been in the water. Well, her company, OBO, now manufactures more such products and even a plastic substitute. If you manufacture something, you're usually producing a product that you've created or invented in a large type factory, and so your volume is quite big. So she's manufacturing more such products, more products that are in this cosmetic or food area. And she's even got a plastic substitute. A substitute is something you use instead of something else or in place of something else. So here, a substitute is a noun, but it's also a verb. Maybe your teacher is sick and she gets someone to substitute for her. Or you went to English class and discovered you have a substitute. You can use it both ways. So OBO is still busy coming up with new products.
Right, and of course, if you're supposed to limit your sugar consumption, you might find a sugar substitute like what kind of substitutes?
Stevia.
Xylitol or something like that?
Yeah, it's not always good for you, though. Be careful.
But yeah, that's kind of controversial as well. But yes, indeed, maybe people can find some substitutes for plastic by using algae. Maybe people here in Taiwan have figured out something to do with that as well. And OBO also imports seaweed from the Dominican Republic, where it stops people from fishing and affects tourism. The Dominican Republic is on the island of Hispaniola, as you know. One half of it is Haiti, and the other half is the Dominican Republic. They produce lots of really good baseball players, actually, that play in the major leagues from the Dominican Republic. And, of course, the people there are trying to fish in the water, but, there's all this seaweed floating around, and it's very difficult for them to fish. And also it affects tourism. People from North America probably go there to go scuba diving because it's a tropical place, but they're probably not going there because it has a reputation for having all this seaweed, and so that affects tourism as well.
Yeah, I think that's their main production or main produce that the economy is based on there in Dominican Republic is tourism. So if they don't have people coming and enjoying their beautiful country, then it hurts their economy, so that's pretty important. Dr. Granstrom hopes to attract more investors. If you're looking for investors, you're looking for people who will take their money and give it to you to help you I guess, build out your company, or they might take their money and buy stock if you're in the stock market already. Some companies are private, you can't buy their stock, but others are public, and so you can buy stock. And hopefully, if you're an investor, that stock price will increase and you can make some money off your investment. But it doesn't always work out that way, so be careful with your money.
Right, so she's come up with this idea, and she wants to get people interested in this idea so that she can make some money, and also it can help clean up the environment and get rid of all that extra algae. So she wants to attract more investors. The verb there is to invest. A lot of people invest in the stock market, for example, and the process is called investment. Okay, so that's the noun there. To invest is the verb, and an investor is another kind of noun that, of course, refers to a person who invests in something, and she wants to attract those customers to, put some money into her company, and then they'll probably get some profit as a result. If this company is successful. It sounds like a pretty good idea here because we certainly have quite a bit of algae in the world's oceans. If we can figure out what to do with it, hey, we can probably make tons of money.
That would be awesome. I wanted to mention here, if you're an investor and you're buying stocks and bonds in the market. If you own stock in one particular company, you don't want to say, I own a lot of stocks in Apple Computer. I own a lot of stocks in Google. You just own stock in Google. But if you have different kinds of stock in different companies, then you can say I have different types of stocks that I own. But for the most part, we use it as a non-count noun. Bonds are securities that the government produces that you can buy. And if your interest rate is low, then you can make some money off those bonds. Otherwise, be careful. Everything's a little dangerous these days to invest in.
Right, and we know that there's a lot of algae in the Baltic Sea, and there's a lot of algae and seaweed in the ocean, the Caribbean Sea, around the Dominican Republic. Well, based on this article, I'm making an assumption there.
I haven't seen it yet.
But I don't know about Taiwan here. I don't know if Taiwan has a lot of algae in the ocean, but hey, Taiwan could probably use her ideas if there is a lot of algae and produce some products and clean up the ocean. And yeah, we could probably solve the problem with straws for our drinks. When we buy our Jeonju Naicha, we don't have to use those wimpy cardboard straws that get all soft after being in
those.
Yeah, they're not really a good substitute for plastic. But hey, hopefully this can change things. And we wish Ms. Gramstrom the best of luck with her idea. That brings us to the end of our All English unit for this issue. Our issue this time around, and we hope you can join us again next time for another edition of our program. And here's hoping that all of your news is good news. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.